Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to episode number 46 of the Houston Astros franchise here on MLB The Show 20. Today we have spring training action as we get our first glimpse of the Houston Astros squad going into the 2021 MLB season. If you're excited for this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below, especially if you want more franchise content. Realistic franchise content, this is your place. And hey, we just hit 100 subscribers, so let's keep that train going. On the mound for the Houston Astros in this first spring training game will be Justin Verlander. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the new faces of this Houston Astros squad, as well as highlight a couple of battles that are heading on in spring training. But Justin Verlander, he's going to start as our ace, and not off to the best of starts so far. He's got runners on second and third now after that wild pitch with no outs. Obviously, Verlander now is the ace that we traded. Now that we traded Zach Greinke to the Milwaukee Brewers in the offseason for Avisail Garcia and Lorenzo Cain. You will not see either of those players in this episode. Lorenzo Cain got traded shortly after acquiring him in the offseason, and Avisail Garcia was actually out participating in the World Baseball Classic for his squad. So both of those players not going to be featured in this episode. But Verlander, now he's already given up 3 earned runs here in the first. Thankfully gets Lucor to strike out to end the bleeding, but not a good solid start to his spring training. Leading off for the Astros in the bottom of the first is Kyle Tucker. He is one person fighting for a roster spot. He hit .269 last year, and this is definitely going to help. Fastball first at bat of spring training is over the wall in right field, and Kyle Tucker has a home run. Astros have a very crowded outfield now thanks to bringing back Brantley, as well as trading for Garcia and signing Mark Canha. So Kyle Tucker, he's really got his hands full if he wants to make the big league squad. He is a very young, promising prospect, and he was with us for last year. We'll have to see he's with us to begin this season. Here is Michael Brantley, who was brought back on a 1-year, $5.5 million deal. He has some competition in left field with Avisail Garcia, and he's going to make the most of his at-bat. He also starts spring training, this time with a double. So 2 big hits for the Astros. Up next, George Springer hit .285 last year. He signed a 3-year, $36 million deal to stay with the Astros, their biggest free agent this offseason. Another player they brought in, Justin Smoke. He hit .293 last year with Milwaukee. He is now going to be platooning first base with Yuli Garcia, who had just an average year, so to speak. So that's a big get. Here's another get, and he's a familiar face, Josh Reddick, who was traded at the deadline to St. Louis last year, had a very good stint in St. Louis, is now back in Houston on a 1-year deal. He draws the walk. And bases loaded. Here's a prime opportunity for this man. He's fighting for a roster spot. Jack Mayfield, he had an abysmal September call-up last year, and that's not going to help. Jack Mayfield strikes out. He is fighting for that backup middle infielder spot. Here's one guy he's fighting with, Anibal Sierra, who did not make his stint with the majors last year, but Sierra, Mayfield, Miles Straw, and Alesmis Diaz. Keep an eye on those 4 guys. They are fighting for that middle infield backup bench position. Here's a man who played backup corner infielder for us last year. Abraham Toro hit .235. He's also kind of fighting. Probably won't make the squad. That's not going to help thanks to the acquisition of Smoke. And then we have Garrett Stubbs hitting number 9 today. He is the platoon catcher from last year. He will also probably be platoon catching this year with Maldonado once more. His first at bat of spring training is a grounder to the first base, and that'll be the put outs here. So 2 down now in the bottom of the second. Kyle Tucker back at the plate. What can he do for an encore? Gets a solid pitch to hit, but grounds it to the second baseman, and that's the end of the second. We're actually going to go top 4 now. Austin Pruitt takes the mound, and the other big battle this spring training is in the bullpen. There's a lot of familiar faces from last year, but we only have a limited number of bullpen spots. And Austin Pruitt's a bubble guy. Had about a mid-4 ERA last year. That's literally all he does if you look at his career stats. He's going to give you those mid-4s bullpen numbers, but has a very solid spring right now. Strikes out 2 batters and then gets Juan Soto to ground out to shortstop. So Pruitt trying to fight for one of those bullpen spots, making his case here. Now we're going to go bottom 5 now. Here's another new face in Houston, Mark Canha, who is actually a former Athletic, part of that World Series squad. And we just didn't sign him till like late December, early January. And I saw him on the free agent side, so might as well give him a 1-year deal. He strikes out there, But I'm very interested to see what Mark Cannon does. I'm very excited for that acquisition. He hit like 330 last year. Here's a new face, Drew Ferguson. He shoots this one down the line on third base all the way to the wall. He's a center field, minor leaguer. He's getting a shot here in spring training. He's actually a former Belmont walk-on selected in the 19th round. So great story for Drew Ferguson. Good to see him get some playing time in spring training. Here's a guy, Alex Reyes, who we traded for in that Josh Reddick trade from St. Louis, and he had a horrible stint in the majors after we traded for him. Alex Reyes, 6.90 ERA last year. He is another one of those promising guys who is fighting for a bullpen spot. He does have solid potential. It's just, can he tap into it? He can be wildly inaccurate at times. As we see here, just giving up pitches right over the heart of the plate. Back-to-back doubles. That's going to be an easy run for the Nationals. Look here, they're actually up 7-1 now. So Nationals putting hurt on us in this game. Still has yet to get an out. Starlin Castro, there's a pitch in the dirt. Runner's going to go to third base. Thankfully, Stubbs blocks it and guns him down at third base. Great play by Garrett Stubbs. Very good defensive catcher. So Starlin Castro, good thing he threw that runner out third base because this ball is gone to left field. Starlin Castro, solo shot. Is obviously first of spring training. And Alex Reyes, the struggles continue from last year bleeding into the spring training. He's got to work on that accuracy. He leaves too many pitches over the middle of the plate. Very next batter, Scooter Gennett, and he's going to blast this one to the left center gap. Not going to get over the wall, but it's going to get up against it. And he's going to have a very easy double as Reyes still only has one out in this top of the sixth. Don't want to yank. I want to see how he does in this span. He gets the next batter to ground to second base, however. I want to see if he can work out of it now. Runner on third, 2 outs, and Drew Mendoza is going to pop out in foul territory. So that runner will not score, but Reyes did not have a good inning in this one. Next inning, we're going to bring in Chris Devinsky, another guy, a veteran who's fighting for a bullpen spot. He had a 5.14 ERA. Very up and down last year. Hopefully he can keep it straight. And he starts off by striking out a guy we had some interest in free agency, D. Gordon. He signed with the Nationals. And then Andrew Stevenson is going to strike out. Nice changeup by Devinsky to fan the first two batters. And then next up, Eric Gonzalez. First pitch to him. He's going to ground it to Mayfield at second. So a very good inning for Chris Devinsky. Top of the 8th, it's going to belong to Andres Munoz, a new face in this bullpen who's potentially might be in it. He is the former Padres prospect. He came up in this offseason. When we flipped Lorenzo Cain to the Padres, Andres Munoz was one of the two pieces that we acquired. Very excited to see what he can do. Maybe not this year. He did spend basically all last year with San Diego, but we'll have to see what he can do in spring training and see if he's worthy of a bullpen spot. He had a good 8th inning here. And then lastly, the new guy we face, another guy who's going to definitely take a bullpen spot, and that's Brad Hand. He was a Cleveland Indian, traded actually last year to Kansas City. So the AL Central veteran. He was acquired to potentially be our future closer. We thought about trading Marcell Ozuna, but nobody really had some interest in him. And Brad Hand is making his case. 3 straight strikeouts to end the top of the 9th. Fortunately, the Nationals will win this one, but it's not really about the wins and losses. It's about how the players do. Scooter Gennett, player of the game, 4 for 5. They win 8-3. Pitching side, it was a rough game for Verlander and Reyes. And on the hitting side, Tucker, Straw, and Quintana all win yards, so making their cases. And for the rest of the gameplay of this episode, we're going to focus on the last battle in spring training, and that is for the starting pitcher positions. There's 3 guys I'm interested in. Here's the first one, Rogelio Armenteros, who had a 4 ERA last year. When he came up, he was very hot, kind of faltered down the stretch, lost his rotation spot actually to Josh James when he was called up in September. But I want to see if Rogelio Armenteros can regain that spot. But there are 3 guys fighting for 2 rotation spots. And we'll see all 3 in action. Rogelio Armenteros is the first one. Then we'll see Josh James. And then we'll see the top prospect in our organization, Forrest Whitley. So stay tuned for that one. But here's Rogelio Armenteros. All 3 of them are going to get 3 innings. And Armenteros has a very good top of the first, as he gets 2 outs, but then that's actually a double. And then Chris Shaw up next. He's going to line it straight at Springer in center. So he does get out of the first scoreless. See what he does in the second, starting off with Brian Anderson. And he's going to shoot this one to the first base. Nice play by Smoke to get that one down for the first out. Garrett Cooper up next for the Miami Marlins. I love those blue jerseys, and he's going to line this one to center for out number 2. So Armenteros is doing pretty solid so far. That's going to bring up the 7 here. Jorge Alfaro, 0-2 to him, and he grounds it to the second baseman, Mayfield, who throws him out. So 2 scoreless innings for Armenteros. He'll get one more in this one. Top 3. And first batter is going to lift this one deep to right field, but it's going to be off the wall, so it stays in the ballpark. And there is a leadoff double for Miami. So how will Armenteros respond? Well, he's not going to respond likely here as Diaz lined this one into left field. So runners now on the corners with no outs. Top of the order, Miguel Rojas gets a high fastball, so that's going to be a sac fly in left. So Armenteros does give up his first run in the top of the 3rd. Very next batter, Harold Ramirez, and he's going to pop this one up in the infield to smoke for out number 2. And then the next batter in the top of the 3rd, Corey Dickerson, 0-1 count. He lines this one to left field, but Brantley will track that one down. So Armenteros goes 3 innings, only give up 1 run. And the Astros do win this one against Miami by a score of 6-3. Mark Canha, your player of the game, 1 for 3 with a home run and 3 RBIs. So Armenteros, he looked pretty good. Gave up a couple of extra base hits, but nothing major. And let's go into the second pitcher, very next game, playing the St. Louis Cardinals. And this is going to be Josh James' chance. Now, Josh James had a very rough season for us. Started actually in the majors last year, but through a month and a half had a 10+ ERA. So he was sent down for basically all of the year until he was recalled back up in September. Got his ERA back down to 7.78. Actually took Armenteros' starting rotation spot in September after Armenteros started to struggle. So Josh James had a good September. We're hoping he can build on it here in spring training. He does give up a leadoff double to start this game, but Josh James, he's a hard throwing pitcher as there's a 97 fastball on the outside. Gets the man looking. And then Lourdes Gurriel Jr. up next. There's a slider that's going to get away from the catcher. So runner on 3rd with 2 outs. Gurriel Jr. acquired by St. Louis at the deadline last year from Toronto. 2-2 to him, and he's going to get underneath a fastball. So no damage done in the top of the 1st for Josh James. But Josh James, he is very good potentially. He's yet to tap into it, getting a little later in his career. So it's be interesting to see if he ever does tap into it. But top of the 2nd, he's going to walk the leadoff batter. Brings up Matt Carpenter, 0-2 to him. Nice play by the 3rd baseman. Unfortunately, not able to make the play. So runners on 1st and 2nd now. That's going to be a base hit. No outs. Tyler O'Neill up next. Gets a changeup. Lofts it straight into right field. Runner on 2nd will tag, however. So we got runners on the corners with 1 out for James. See how he deals with this. Lane Thomas up first. Well, he's going to draw a walk. So now bases loaded for Josh James. 1 out. Andrew Knizner. And he's going to line this one to left field. That's going to be a sac fly more than likely. And James surrenders his first run in the top of the 2nd. But the Astros are up 3-1. Tommy Edman is up next. He's going to get swinging on the changeup outside. So Josh James gets out of the jam, surrendering only 1. Top 3, his last inning starts off with Edmundo Sosa. He's going to get a slider and dribble it to the shortstop. And Sierra throws him out at first base. Paul Goldschmidt up next. Full count to Goldschmidt. He's going to swing on the fastball way down in the zone, 97. And that fools Goldschmidt. Next up, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., 1-0 to him. He's going to chop a fastball to the 3rd baseman. And that's going to be the end of James's performance. So he gives a 1 earned run in 3 innings. Looked pretty solid, I thought, for the most part, especially against Paul Goldschmidt and Gurriel Jr., the heavy hitters for St. Louis. Edmundo Sosa did have a home run later in the game. He was your your player of the game thanks to a 5-run 5th for St. Louis. But I thought Josh James played pretty good. Obviously, he has the same stat line as Armenteros. Both had 3 ERAs. And the last guy featured in this episode will be Forrest Whitley, a man we have never seen in this series, but we have high hopes for. The potential 71, 22-year-old. He was our former first-round pick back in 2016, selected 17th overall. And the San Antonio, Texas native. will get the first out in this one. So he's playing the Washington Nationals, who just smoked us to begin the episode. So we'll see how he does against this nice lineup. There's a base hit given up with 1 out in the bottom of the first. So runner on board. Juan Soto up next. He's going to get called looking at a high changeup. Whitley's got to be careful with those, but nonetheless, good location. Trey Turner is up next. He's first pitch swinging past the glove of the second baseman. So now Whitley has runners on first and second, 2 outs. For Daniel Murphy up next, and he's going to chop this one to the third baseman. Fields it cleanly, throws him out. So Whitley also has a scoreless first inning. Now bottom of second, Starless Castro up first. He gets him to swing through 96 on the outside corner. Very good location by Whitley. Jonathan Lucroy up next, 1-0 to him. Curveball down in the zone, gets a nice chopper to the shortstop, and Sierra will throw him out. So Whitley showing pretty good command early on. Drew Mendoza up next. That's not good command. That's a slider caught way too much of the zone. And thankfully, though, it's caught at the warning track. So 2 scoreless innings. Steven Strasburg leading off for the Nationals in the bottom of the third. That should be an easy out for Whitley. And it is. But now he's got to get through the top of the order. Victor Robles up 3-0 to him. And he's going to draw a 4-pitch walk. So Whitley loses a little bit of his command there. Robbie Grossman up next. He's going to draw a full count walk. So back-to-back walks now for Whitley. We'll see how he responds. Juan Soto up next. There's a pitch in the dirt, and that's not going to help. Runners will advance on a wild pitch. So now runners on second, third, 1 out. He's going to get Soto to swing and miss, chase the slider. So good deception there. And then Trey Turner up next. He's going to ground this one to the second baseman, and he makes the play. So 3 scoreless innings for Forrest Whitley on this one. He looked pretty solid, but the Nationals do win this one, as they are 2 for 2 on us so far. 6-4 thanks to Yan Gomes' pinch hit homer in the 8th. Puts the Nationals ahead, and that was off of Joe Smith. So Joe Smith did not look pretty good in this one. I think he's kind of a lock, though, to stay in the bullpen. He had a very good 2020. I don't want to throw him out. So spring training comes to a close. We finished 12-17, as a little worse than we would have thought. Nationals were the best team in the Grapefruit. They went 19-7. The Dodgers, the best team in the Cactus, 26-4. That could potentially be your World Series matchup. Taking a look at the stats, starting off with position players, had a lot of good hitters. As we can see, it kind of made this hard. Jack Mayfield hit 294, Elizabeth Diaz 250. Both had 2 homers for that middle infield battle. Miles Straw also had a phenomenal spring training. 2 players I do want to highlight, though, is George Springer hitting 290 plus, led the team with homers in spring training, had 9 of them. So he will be a very integral part of this offense, especially coming off that new contract. And the other guy who impressed, Mark Canha. I mean, he signed on a 1-year deal. This could be the steal of free agency, in my opinion. I know that's talking a big game, but he had 8 homers, hit well above the 340 marks. We'll get his final tally, 348. He made his claim to take one of the outfield spots, so it makes that so much difficult. We just have a log jam in the outfield. Now on the pitcher side of things, here the starting pitchers kind of struggled. Verlander struggled. The colors didn't look that great. Whitley had a great performance that we saw, but he had a 4.40 plus ERA. The relievers played pretty well, so it's hard to make judgments there. But Forrest Whitley, here's his ratings once more. He actually will start off in AAA, so it'll be James and Armenteros filling out our starting rotation. As for the bullpen, we're going to send down Andres Munoz. He had a horrible spring training, and he's still young, so give him some more development. Alex Reyes, same thing, bounced back after that one, performance, but he's going to start in AAA as well. And Chris Devinsky, the veteran, we're going to send him down. So those 3 do not make the cut. Back to the position player side of things, Toro is sent down. We don't need him on the middle corners anymore. And Miles Straw, despite a dominant spring training, I wanted to send him down. He's still young. Same with Kyle Tucker. We have that log jam in the outfield, and it's just kind of hard to carry all of them. So somebody had to go down. And we're actually going to send on Austin Pruitt. He had a very good spring training, but we're going to have to carry that extra outfielder, and he's not going to make the cut. And then Jack Mayfield beats out Elizabeth Diaz, his 290 plus batting average. Yes, he was horrible in September last year, but I want to give a new guy a shot. Diaz had his shot last year to be that middle infield backup, and he didn't impress. So we'll see what Jack Mayfield can do. You could always just send him down. He's got options. But here is your 2021 opening day roster for the Houston Astros. We're going to take a look at the lineups. Now, these lineups they're tentative. All right, right now I have it on auto, so I could always go and switch a couple of things. But there's a lot of platoons, it looks like. Stubbs Maldonado at catcher, Smoke Gurriel at first, Avisel Garcia, Michael Brantley. Brantley had a dominant spring training. That's a left field platoon, and then Canna and Reddick in right. So I could go back and switch all those. I don't know if I agree with all those platoons, so I wouldn't count on seeing all those this season. Carrying 6 bullpen arms, a little light, but we'll see what happens, as that is our pitchers combo. And we start off opening day in Texas, the Texas Rangers in the Battle of Texas. And they have a familiar face who we're going to see right off the rip. Peter Santos, you remember from the draft episode, we drafted him. We did not sign him, however, but he went down to Costa Rica, played on their national team, and played phenomenal. And the Texas Rangers, signed him to a contract. But that'll be opening day. That is going to come Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below, especially if you want more franchise content. I'm excited for you too. I hope you guys are as well. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.